Right, so this is building query June 19th, 2020, Sprint L, right? Which means we're about nearly halfway through the alphabet in the year. All right, B5, you just said before we began recording that you thought we would spend this time going through the sprint board and just walking through what got shipped and what remains. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one's relatively kind of uneventful from the news frontier because the things that we have built have not yet shipped. We're working towards a release next week of Qri Core, which will be Qri version 0.9.9. And basically, sort of just to do a little bit of signposting, we had a bunch of people sign up for Qri and use Qri and sort of kick the can around with the tool and give us a bunch of really useful feedback. And that feedback has taken us a little while to sort of implement, mainly because we try to do things the right way when we do it. And so today I'll just quickly share my screen and show you how much work has been happening over the last month, just to give a feel for some of the work that we're doing. So for anybody who is interested or wants to play along at home, we do all of our work, we track in public on these GitHub project boards, which you can see if you like by going to the Qri organization on GitHub, and then you go to projects. And then in this case, this is the latest, it's almost always the latest sprint board, Sprint K and L. Rico, do you mind muting the call-in phone?
Sure.
Thank you. What was he gonna do? Okay, cool. And then yeah, this is our sprint board right now. We've got 80 things in the done column, which I think we should be very proud of. Just taking like a quick scroll down to the very bottom of what we started on. We fixed some stuff on cloud that supports like long private keys and peer name requirements, and then we've like moved all the way up through fixes and changes and like result counts. What else were we moving? Transforms, fixing up the way setting the stage for some work that was landed in RFC around apply, which will be coming sort of in a subsequent sprint. We supported partner organizations like the Knowledge House. We did a whole bunch of fixes in naming, the way that we handled the names of data sets. We made some decisions that sort of make the naming conventions of data sets a little more strict and a little more useful moving forward. We basically just banning uppercase characters. We added pagination support to the cloud, which is going to be very exciting to land, and a lot of that was demoed by Chris last sprint demo. We're working on a giant migration of our configuration file to use multi-addresses, which is part of a larger effort that you see sort of across the board for us to improve and modernize our IPFS implementation and leverage some of the technology that is sort of brought forth to us by IPFS. We have a bunch of developer-oriented fixes like hot reloading of our cloud configuration. We have docs template. We now have issue templates for our docs, which is really nice. Meaning when you go to file an issue on Qri, you will be presented with some help on how to file an issue that we will be able to act on quicker. We're working on result counts and a bunch of other stats and stuff that should show up inside of Qri Cloud. So you should actually be able to see how many people download stuff. Most importantly, I think we demoed this last sprint demo, but we're going to be actually we're going to be able to download datasets directly from Qri Cloud without needing any backing stuff. So you won't need to download an application to get a CSV file, which we think is which has been a heavily requested feature. We are, a whole bunch of stuff working on presenting history on cloud, a lot of cloud stuff, improvements of list display. What else have we done? Gosh, we've done a lot of stuff. A lot of work on file systems. We're going to be in the future. This will open up the door to some really exciting stuff in the future where you'll be able to have Qri write and read from many different things that we call file systems. We think of stuff like S3 as a file system. We think of stuff like HTTP as a potential sort of file system, a place where you can sort of fetch data from. Writing to an HTTP file system doesn't make a ton of sense, but lots of stuff there and lots of incredible configurability that'll come out of that work. What else do we have? Bug fixes galore, things like don't crash on this, don't crash on that. Homepage improvements on cloud. A lot of this is cloud. Man, cloud team is really sort of like coming together. Have a wonderful blog post that shipped on policing the pandemic. That is up on Medium, which you can check out. We've also been doing, Christos on the Qri team has been doing a ton of great research around assembling data surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement and around policing and the pandemic and the interaction between some of those things. A lot of those data sets are up on Qri Cloud. Yeah, lots of stuff. The list goes on. I mean, I think we've made the point. But a lot of this work is just sort of like groundwork, and this is part of what it means to build bleeding edge technology. Sometimes you just kind of have to sort of step back, clean everything up, make it better, make it work better, make it healthier. And I think this is a lot of, normally we end sprints with sort of 10 or 11 things in the to-do column. This time, or with more than 10 or 11 things in the to-do column. This one's exciting because we're actually sort of plowing through some of the backlog of things we intended to do. So I think it's really exciting from our perspective, and ideally we will actually be able to share that excitement with you when we actually cut a release next week. But in the meantime, it's like, yay, cool, stuff that will come out. As we were talking before the call, Rico had just quickly mentioned that in the future, the other thing we're going to develop is a publicly visible roadmap of what we're going to be working on. And we'll be able to share that as a sort of classic Gantt chart that will let you see us sort of burn down specific stuff and new features as they're coming out. But that's kind of the long and the short of it. It's just been a lot of, the Qri team has been working really hard on shipping new stuff and getting us into a position where we can make some major league improvements to cloud, which has been a really heavy focus. And in order to do that, we've had to ship a whole bunch of really important improvements to the actual Qri core command line tool. And then in the future weeks, we'll be turning around and shipping a lot of those improvements to desktop. And so our attention will kind of move from one thing to the other, but very much looking forward to getting all of this at the door so that others can play with it. Does anybody have any comments or things they'd like to add, stuff they'd like to point out that they've sort of done over the last little while that was really exciting and interesting?
It's been a blur. There's been a lot going on, and it's kind of hard to remember everything. But the overview certainly helps that you just did.
Yeah, it has been a lot. Yeah, it's big. It's a lot.
I think.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, just the ability to have paginated search results in Qri Cloud and show a history that you can actually click on and then explore the preview at that point in history is going to be huge. It just means it really, like I call that surfing Qri Cloud, which you can't really do right now. You can go down a few different roads and then end up in some dead ends. So I think it's going to change the game in terms of people being able to find things and really see what's out there, what people have shared and that sort of thing. So looking forward to that for sure.
Deep agree. To that end on surfing, like Chris has been working hard on shipping, being able to just like sort lists of stuff, being able to say like most recently published. I think the stats around downloads will also be a really exciting new thing for folks who are actually publishing data to finally get some insight into how much your data sets are being used, which would be a really nice sort of like thing from the perspective of somebody publishing. Yeah, lots, and the idea that you can download different versions from cloud, as Chris, as you mentioned, it's just like kind of exciting and simple, and a simple but very important thing that can't wait to sort of look at. But yeah, I think from that, I mean, we're really looking forward to the call in 2 weeks where we actually have a lot of this shipped and a lot of this at the door. And we appreciate patience from everyone who's been asking for us to cut a release. We think it's really important to make sure that we sort of get everything into a good position. A lot of our work has been sort of just managing the sort of lower level dependencies of our project and making sure that everything is cleaned and handled properly. And to that end, in 2 weeks, hopefully we're talking a bunch about features again and a bunch about really exciting new stuff coming down the turnpike. But turnpike. Yeah. But to that end, I think we don't have much to announce today. So I think we can probably just do a close early unless anyone has any pressing business. Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, we've set the record for the fastest building query call we've had in months. And so thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you around.